If you think saving photos on a voice recorder sounds weird, try going back to 2004 and telling people you store your photos in a cloud. Maybe if you'd said you were saving photos to a voice recorder, they might have believed you. Okay, maybe not. That would have also been a weird thing to say. But I love exploring the past and learning how technology works. And the technology to record images the way I'm about to try was invented in the 1960s. It's called SSTV, or slow scan television, and it was used, among other things, to send photos back from spacecraft. Cue the microcassette, a voice recording format also invented in the 60s, which in this video I'm combining with SSTV, and also with some more modern technology in the mix to see what happens. The motivation for these experiments came from wanting to compare details of this mid-2000s Sony microcassette recorder to this beautiful, sleek digital recorder from 2004. I love this thing, and I want to use it for something before I put it on a shelf to just sit there looking good. First, I'm going to run some tests with this microcassette recorder. Muddy water is best cleared by leaving it alone. To transmit images to the tape, I'll be using this Samsung phone of dubious quality. I won't be fully charging the battery as I'm using it. This thing has a failure mode that can be kinda catastrophic. I'm running an app called SSTV Encoder. I just need to load my first image into the app, then press record on the voice recorder. The image is converted into sound and picked up by the microphone on the recorder. You can actually hear the warble of the image in each line as it's being sent. That took about 30 seconds to send the entire image. I'm now going to test if this worked with a different app called Robot 36. This will decode any SSTV images it hears. This sound gets annoying very quickly, so I'll be reducing it in the editing or replace it with music for the final video. Okay, the saved image is not too bad. The text has sort of become unreadable, and there's a lot of waviness in the image. This will be because the tape speed itself varies a little bit, which can sometimes be heard as wow and flutter. But here we're seeing the wow and flutter effect visually. The user manual shows this voice recorder as having a frequency range of 300 to 4 kHz when running the tape at about 2.4 centimeters per second. Or just under 1 inch per second. The SSTV signal has a bandwidth of about 3 kHz, which fits nicely into the range of this recorder. This recorder can also be switched to run at half speed, or 1.2 centimeters per second. The manual doesn't specify what the reduced frequency range will be at this speed, but it will be reduced a bit, and I'm interested to see the results. Okay, let's see how well this slower speed can hold an image. Rewind the tape and record. Okay, time to run Robot 36 and play it back, and let's have a look. Okay, not too bad. There's definitely some quality drop here, and even more waviness in the image, as the variability in the tape speed has even more effect at this slower speed. I ran a few more tests, but I couldn't get much of a better image out of it. One thing I found is that if I put the recorder upright when playing the tape, it seems to make the tape a lot more unstable. and somehow he was able to turn a Jedi Knight into a Sith Lord. I'm now ready to compare this to my all-digital SX40 voice recorder. The main controller is actually a 4-way direction pad, which is really cool, and it's got quite a lot of different menu options. This must have been a very premium product in its day. And check this out. If I hold down the stop button, the volume up button, and switch hold on, it goes into test mode with an awesome little tune. This is really the only time this thing makes any sort of melody, and it's for the test mode. I want to put this into my top 10 test modes of all time list. Let me know if you'd like to see that video. The test mode itself is kind of unremarkable though, with things like an LCD test, and there are some sine wave tone tests as well. The service manual does describe a lot of these test functions, except for how to exit test mode. I found the only way to exit was to open the battery compartment. Back in the main menu now, and this has got 3 different recording modes: long play, standard play, and stereo. I'm starting the test with long play recording. The user manual mentions long play mode has a frequency response of 80 to 3.5 kHz, which is comparable to the frequency response of the microcassette-based recorder, and it's more than enough than the 3 kHz of bandwidth required by an SSTV image. You can observe a lot by just watching. Okay, like before, I'm recording the SSTV signal by pressing record on the recorder and playing the image on the phone. I'm running Robot 36 now, and let's see what we get. And it's a complete distortion. I can barely make out an image. I can sort of see where the lightsaber is, and maybe there's a figure there. So while this is a digital recorder and good enough to record voice, it's obviously terrible at any sort of image recording. But let's have a look at the other 2 quality levels, with the next one being standard play. This has a frequency response of 60 to 7 kHz. I have lived with several Zen masters, all of them cats. I have lived with several Zen masters, all of them cats. I can sort of see 2 figures in the noise there, but there's a lot of distortion. Okay, jumping to the highest quality mode, the stereo mode, which has a frequency response of 60 Hz to 13.5 kHz. One is never afraid of the unknown. One is afraid of the known coming to an end. One is never afraid of the unknown. One is afraid of the known coming to an end. Now let's have a look at the image I've pre-recorded on here and see how well this one does. Okay, it's passable, but there is still quite a lot of distortion in the image. And I'm kind of curious how much the acoustic transfer is affecting the quality of the image. This digital voice recorder has a smaller speaker to the microcassette recorder and does sound a bit tinnier. So I'm wondering if things like that or the microphone quality are having an effect on the image transfer process. I've decided to take the acoustic aspect out of the equation. This digital voice recorder has an external microphone input and a headphone output. So I'm going to plug this directly into the phone using a cable, bypassing any acoustic interference. There's one small problem. You can't plug a headphone output directly into a microphone input and expect it to work. The impedance levels just don't match each other. Also, Android phones use signals on the microphone line for controlling things like from external buttons on the headset. So if I do plug these directly together, this Samsung phone just starts to go crazy. And I really don't want it to blow up. I'm going to have to adapt and filter this signal using some external components. And I'll be channeling Ben Eder for this. First, I've got an earphone plug, which I'll connect to this breadboard, and I've got two 1K resistors for the left and right audio channels, which I'll be joining together to make a mono signal for the microphone. I'm also using a 100 ohm resistor, connecting this signal to ground. This should reduce the audio level by about 90% to better match the microphone input. I also need to add a 4.7 microfarad capacitor. This should block any DC current coming from the microphone's plug-in power that could interfere with the signal, but this should still allow the audio signal to pass through. I'm then putting the signal through another 100 ohm resistor, and finally a 2K resistor between signal and ground, to keep everything nice and stable for the microphone input. And last of all, a socket, so I can still plug my cable into it. I now have a direct electrical connection, hopefully without any of that acoustic interference. I've re-recorded the 3 different images in the 3 different quality modes using this new direct connection. To play them back, I just need to unplug the interface and turn it around to send the signal in the other direction. Now let's see what we get. Okay, first was long play mode. And it's no better. I mean, really no better than when it was acoustic. Right, I'll try standard play and let's see what this gives us. Well, it's sort of slightly better than when it was acoustic, but not really. It's still pretty bad. Alright, we'll see what the best quality mode gives us. Better in some ways, but not actually. I think it looks worse in other ways compared to the acoustic setup. It looks kind of a bit more stable, but there's also more noise. So this has me wondering, why is this? And this makes me want to look deeper and to see what clues I can find to what's going on here. First of all, I know this voice recorder has 128 megabytes of flash memory for storing recordings. And the user manual also gives us the total recording times for the 3 different recording modes. I can use this information to get an idea of the bit rate that it's using for making these recordings. I just need to convert 128 megabytes into bits. First by timesing 128 by 1024 to give us 131,072 kilobytes. Then timesing that again by 1024, 134,217,728 bytes. And then finally timesing this result by 8, which gives us 1,073,741,824 total bits. So in stereo mode, this can record for 5 hours and 50 minutes, which is 350 minutes. And if we times this by 60, we get 21,000 seconds. So now I just need to divide the 1 billion and change bits by 21,000 seconds. Okay, it comes out to 51,130 bits per second, or about 51 kilobits per second. And we can compare that to, say, a Spotify stream, which is normally about 256 kilobits per second. So in its best quality recording mode, it's about 1/5 the bitrate of Spotify. I also want to check the standard play mode, so it's 17 hours and 50 minutes, which works out to, okay, 64,200 seconds. Again, dividing the 1 billion and change by 64,200, and we get 16,724, or about 16 kilobits per second. So now I'm really curious about the bitrate for the long play mode, which can record for an astonishing 47 hours and 35 minutes. Calculating that into seconds, and we get 171,300 seconds. Okay, dividing that again from the 1,073,741,824 bits, and dividing by 171,300, and we get 6,268. Okay, 6.2 kilobits per second. That's an extremely low bitrate for audio recording. It's tiny compared to the number of bits normally needed to record audio. I did a bit of research and I found this recorder is not using MP3 encoding at all. It's using a Sony proprietary codec called Long-Term Predicted Excitation Encoding. There's not much information available for this codec. It seems this codec was specifically designed for recording human voice. This explains why the bitrate can be pushed so low and still reasonably represent a voice. This also explains why the images are becoming so distorted on here. It's just not able to represent the image warble sound with any real accuracy. That long play mode is still impressive though, so I thought I'd do some tests using some of the other SSTV modes. Most of them are used to give higher resolution images, but take much longer to send. Most of these didn't produce much better results though I did find one, Scotty DX. This takes up to 4 minutes to send an image. I gave it a go, and I was able to record and play back an image in long play mode with some success, but still with some weird distortions to it. I am curious about this codec. There is a Wikipedia page which simply states, as of 2007, no developer information has been released. Well, now we're in the 2020s, and still no developer information has been released. This is truly a codec that's been lost to time. It turns out this weird Sony LPEC codec still has a use even today. If you decide to go ghost hunting and you want to record ghost sounds, or electronic voice phenomena as it's called, using a codec like this that greatly enhances garbly voice artifacts in a weird way might help.
It sounds very garbly and noisy, which to me means maybe that you can interpret like EVPs more easily.
But I don't know much about that, so I'll leave it up to these guys to investigate that side of things. Thanks to Mike and Rich and Jay for all the weird shit you do. Apart from ghost hunting, these general purpose voice recorders are just not as popular as they were in the 1990s. You would see them in all sorts of places.
I've never seen so many trees in my life.
And I get the impression from watching 90s TV, they were perhaps being used a bit too much.
Maurice, could I see that a minute?
Sure. Yeah, it's quite a nifty little item. The Japs are getting real good at miniaturization.
I do have one more voice recorder, and it's a modern one. This is a Sony LX30, and I can't believe they still make these. I got this in a box of random stuff that was given to me, and I was quite surprised to find this because apparently these are also quite expensive. It does have a test mode, but it's not as good as the older model. It uses an SD card for storage, and it only has one recording mode, MP3 at 192 kilobits per second. This gives us a chance to test image recording using a modern codec. Thanks for joining me on my journey through voice recorders into the weird and wonderful. My Samsung Note didn't explode. Maybe another time? I'm keen to see what devices and technology comes up in some future videos. But that's it for the moment. I'll see you next time.